Welcome in, everyone, to the Challenge After Show. Today, Jenna and I are talking about the challenge Untold History, parts 3 and 4. And I really like the way that they broke this down because part 3 is called Against All Odds, and it's all about underdogs. And then part 4 is called The Goats, and it's about the legends of the challenge. So I thought they did a really nice job, even easier to follow than last week. I really enjoyed how they just broke down every character. And we'll get into who we think they might have missed and all that kind of stuff coming up. What did you think of these two episodes?
They were fun. It felt like a montage, like a supercut highlight reel of all of the some of the best moments of the challenge and buzzworthy topics that we always talk about, like who is the GOAT, and it's really subjective. But I love that they can break down an argument for each person and it makes you think. And I watched it with my friend who is a big fan of the challenge too. And what I came down to was you can probably say on paper Bananas is maybe the unchallenged GOAT, right? Like he's the unanimous probably option. But to me, my GOAT is CT. And that's just my GOAT.
Yeah, I think you can swap either of those back and forth for the 1 and 2 spots as far as if we're just saying, I think overall challenges, men or women, I think you can switch back and forth between CT and Bananas, and I don't think there's a wrong answer for either of those options. And I loved at the end they kind of showed like Banana steals the money, but CT gives the money away. And we witnessed, obviously, as we witnessed both those different, and it's like, how do you play the challenge? How do you want to play it? I think that CT's growth as a person, I'm not even talking about winning the challenge. I'm talking about how overall storyline, enjoying a lot of his storyline, going from the bad boy to the husband and father. His journey is a little bit greater than Bananas, I would say, like just with the growth and everything. Bananas kind of has always been like, I'm a dick and I'm going to keep it that way the whole time. What's his growth?
Exactly.
What's Bananas' growth? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
he's that person who came in cocky and he still is cocky.
Yeah. So it's like, do we consider that? Do we consider that in our like ultimate best challenger ever, like a growth factor? I don't know. And also CT had that thing with Diem, which was just so beautiful and lovely to see. I don't know. I want to add that in as well for CT's side.
And outside of growth, though, that's obviously something that we love so much about CT's story is that we feel like in a way we watched him grow up and we kind of grew up with him and we saw him change and grow in all of these incredible ways. But also just as a competitor, he's personally my GOAT because I just feel like things resonate with different people. And there's something about him that just has this it factor that even though Bananas is so great and intelligent at all of these daily competitions, like the thing about Bananas is there was a time where you couldn't stop him. He was gonna win, like even if you tried to politically get him out and maybe like people didn't want to go against him, like you had to beat him in a daily challenge and you couldn't do that. Like he was that good. He won multiple in a row, and if not then every other. Like he was just kind of unbeatable. But there's something special about CT to me, and I don't know if it's his size, his stature. To me it's kind of his fearlessness, like him using his athleticism and his body just in this absolutely reckless, fearless way, but him just never being scared of anything and never backing down from any challenge. Like there's just something about CT that is like he was made for this. Like he was made to be not only a TV star but in this capacity. Like like the challenge and CT to me are like synonymous with each other. Like you can't have one without the other. And you can make that argument for Bananas too. Absolutely. Like you can't think of the challenge without kind of seeing Bananas' face. But yeah, there's something special about CT that sticks out to me.
I'll say this about Bananas. You've seen CT in a final. I believe it was a Diem in the when they were in the snow, where his body just started breaking down. You've seen Wes's body break down in multiple finals. But when Bananas gets into a final, I don't remember a time where he just didn't have that heart or that fortitude in his brain. He just kept, it was like he was a robot. He just kept going and he never gave in to the elements. I don't know if you can say that about anybody else. I'm not saying Bananas is my favorite challenger of all time, but it's like, who is the greatest? Like, you don't have to like him. Is he the greatest? I mean, I have a top 5 of males. Like I can just shout them out right now, and I'd add in West in my 3rd spot, and then Jordan, and then Darrell. Like I don't know who else I could even put in the 5. There's got to be somebody else I'm not thinking, because like they said about Darrell tonight, he won 4 in a row, and the way that the challenge is going and how hard it's getting, no one's ever gonna do that again. No one's good, and a lot of those were team based, So it's like, are they gonna now? It's like partners or singles. It's like it's harder to win a challenge now than I feel like back in the day. However, Jemmy said the opposite. Jemmy said it was harder when Johnny was playing versus when CT is now. So who the hell knows? I don't know.
Right. There's a lot of factors. You're absolutely right. It's really hard not to include Darrell in that. Like Darrell is always like, for some reason, just outside, like it's, at least for me, and it could be subjective in terms of when you watch the challenge. Like I obviously know Darrell, but I did not see every single one of Darrell's seasons like authentically in that moment when it aired, because I was too young. So there's a lot of like young or maybe peak Darrell that I missed. So I wonder, that I'm sure that influences my decision making.
I was gonna say, I watched him. Campus Crawl was like one of the only road rules I actually watched from start to finish, because I thought it was so cool. They were going from different college campuses and having to do these different challenges or tasks or whatever at each one. And as they mentioned tonight, it was the first season where they could eliminate their cast members. And rewatching that, if we want to start from the beginning of Underdogs, that's a huge memory of mine that was gone. It was in the back of my head somewhere, would never have thought of it out of the blue. But when they mentioned the Sarah stuff and how she got voted off, and then they show her going on the gauntlet and all of the things that she had to overcome there and all of her succeeding, it made me like realize, oh my God, I got to go back and watch the gauntlet. I know I watched it, but I don't remember that. I mean, I remember Sarah having to overcome stuff, but I don't remember having to do that. Like she did all that, like, and then she won at the end. Unreal. So do you remember anything about the Sarah stuff, either via Campus Crawl or the
I didn't know it. I didn't know it. I was too young for that season, I guess. I don't know. I didn't watch that season. I didn't know who Sarah was until they showed her story today, and I thought it was amazing. And it reminded me of when they threw Cara Maria into every elimination possible and she kept winning.
Do you remember the season that was? Because I thought for sure they were going to bring that up in the Underdog section. And I even wrote down like, what, we're not going to talk about Cara in the Underdog section? Thank God. When they covered it on the other side, I'm like, okay, good. At least you covered her and talked about her. But do you remember the season that she had to do that? Because I wrote that down. Like, that's a huge Underdog season for her. I have no idea which one it is. I tried looking it up. I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm sure someone in the comment section will tell us, but I couldn't find it. I tried to find it. I really did my research. I thought maybe it was Cutthroat. I'm still not sure if it was Fresh Meat 2.
Okay, so the commenters got our backs or will crucify us. I know either one of those options, but I'm going to say it was Free Agents. I feel like Free Agents, because she also,
that was the
same I don't think so. I think it was Free Agents, because I remember it feeling like a solo game, and she also broke her wrist that same season. If I'm remembering correctly, I might be blurring like 2 or 3 seasons that came out very quickly in succession, one after another. But I feel like it was Free Agents for some reason. I'm just going to say it, and the comments will let us know regardless. So that's my guess. Yeah. That's my theory. But I feel like in between those 2 episodes, it was probably hard for the producers to try to curate who was going to fall under which category. But I feel like between those 2 episodes of Underdogs and Goats, they covered a lot of ground of some of like the really memorable challengers throughout the years.
I think they did a good job, because like I think there's a lot of people in the middle, like your Brads, and your technically Tyler Duckworth, he's won a couple. And he won against some big players, but
even Mark, they kind of glaze over Mark.
Glaze over Mark.
Kind of mentioned, and it's also funny because
like Paula, they don't mention Paula. Paula's like one of those middle people. Or
Emily, like let's be honest, Emily, if she had been on a challenge longer, she would be a memorable GOAT. I feel like her and Laurel going toe to toe, and even like Evelyn, like there were some badass, amazing athletic female competitors. But sadly, sometimes it's how many seasons you've been on in order to get that recognition. So like those women, to me, they're also goats. Well, I mean, we're using that term loosely now. It's like
Yeah, well,
you
I
can't
think
just
that's
slap
why
goat on everyone.
they didn't
But
cover them at all. They put them in that middle zone, and there's no like, here are the middle men and women that competed. Like, they're not going to do that,
But they haven't even talked about Emily Schramm. Like she was, if she had been on more seasons, like sorry to every other woman, like she would have blown you out of the water.
Was there anybody in the underdog section where you're like, okay, we like they shouldn't? And I have a couple, but I'll let you go. Okay, I mean,
you're setting me up. You're setting me up to talk shit about people.
okay, do you not want to? And I'll just talk shit because I'm planning on
Okay,
doing it after
listen.
you.
I think everyone's thinking the same thing, and it's not even as if
I hope we are.
just like. I think everyone's thinking like maybe they took a little bit of leverage with our girl, Nani.
Okay. Well, that's not. I wasn't as upset about them mentioning her as someone else.
And I understand why they did though, because Nani is she has a fierceness to her. I respect the hell of her. I think she's a loyal friend. I think she's honest. She gives people tough love. I think she's a great person. When I first heard her mentioned as an underdog, I sort of was thinking, is she truly an underdog, or maybe she just
in the middle somewhere?
Best exactly. I'm kind of like, isn't she just not the best competitor? Like, I don't know. Does she get an underdog label just because she's never won? You just didn't win,
Right.
Like, that's why isn't underdog actually when you rise up against the odds and you actually win? But I mean, she did make it to finals when people doubted her. I think people do underestimate her. She is underestimated. But
here's why I was a little upset with her mentioned as an underdog. She's been in 12 seasons. That includes Ride or Dies. We don't know what she does there yet, obviously. She's been to 3 finals and she's never won. So
right.
In 11,
so I just feel like they're taking liberty with the term underdog.
I think it's like, a longevity thing, Jenna. And also, if you go to her elimination record, she's been in 14 eliminations. Do you want to guess how many she won out of 14?
Honestly, maybe like 4.
You nailed it. She went 4 for 10. That's awful. So it's like
really bad. Yeah.
I can't go with you as an under. And then there's one that's worse, though. There's one that they mentioned that's worse. And the fact that they mentioned her as an underdog, I get it. But like you just said, she's an underdog, but she didn't even win. Like,
are you talking about Devin?
Hell yeah, I'm talking about Devin.
Okay, so that's interesting though, because why can I get more behind her story than Nani's? And I think it's because she has a smaller sample pool. Because Devin was only on two seasons, so that's why I feel sample. Like that's what I mean. Like she truly, people never imagined Devin to be in the final. So the fact that she made it to the final and she climbed up this mountain, honestly, her story does inspire me. And I feel like she does kind of live out the title of an underdog more than Nani, because sadly Nani was on what, like 14 seasons and she still hasn't won. You start to lose your underdog quality, let me and you start to just become someone who isn't that great at the challenge. But Devin actually, she surpassed people's expectations, and to me that feels a little bit more like an underdog. But maybe if she was on 15 seasons and she still isn't winning and we're still talking about her, they lose that value a little bit.
Do you remember her seasons at all?
I do, yeah. I remember. Okay.
So do you remember
they had to bury her weave and it was a whole moment and it was amazing.
So yes, of course, that part of the game I enjoyed, like sure, socially and comically. She had a bunch of great
confessionals outmatched.
Right. They're very fun to listen to. But as far as a competitive standpoint, they carried her to the final on the 2 seasons she did. She made it to the final because they called her a layup, and they even mentioned it tonight. Like, we knew she was going to be a layup, so we brought her there because why not? And this happens, and we've seen it happen for other competitors as well, not just her. So that happened. If you go to her elimination record, she's only been to 1 elimination in those 2 seasons because they didn't want her to go into. They wanted to bring her to a final, and maybe I don't remember how she got to an elimination, but maybe it was someone saying, "Look, I want a layup," and they just lost her. I don't really remember how it happened though. And then in the final, she was so far behind. It's not like I remember this. She wasn't even close to winning. She did that for herself, and that's totally more power to her for getting it done, even though she knew she was getting 3rd place. I'm not even sure back in the day you had to finish the final to get the money. Did you at that point in free agents? I think you did. So maybe that's another motivating factor.
Always had to finish.
Always had to get the money. So there is that aspect of it. But I just remember her being Awful. Like daily wins. Like that's hold on, let me see if she has any daily wins. She actually has
Yeah.
six. She has 6 daily wins. So that's surprising to me that she could get 3 each season. She's only been in 2 seasons. That's
You know what's sad to me? Their stats are there for a reason. And if your stats are outmatched, then of course numbers don't lie. There was even like the ESPN show Numbers Don't Lie. But there's also those role players and game players, and I might be fabricating this analogy in terms of Devin, but I think that there is something more to people than just remembering their output numbers. You know what I mean?
well, I remember her seasons though as well, Jen. I remember her doing absolutely nothing too.
Okay, so that's totally fair.
I'm
So
just
maybe
using the numbers to
it
back
doesn't
up
work
my
in the
thoughts.
Devin, yeah. It doesn't work in the Devin description, but sometimes it's more than just your stats at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, they say it in basketball all the time. Like a lot of plays that my boy Marcus Smart for the Celtics does all the time. He plays great defense and he has all these hustle plays. They don't show up on the stat sheet, and they talk about that all the time. So
Exactly.
in that regard, I can totally agree with you for that type of situation.
Yeah.
All right. Any other? They talk about John A, which I think is interesting because they do mention how goddamn awful she was on the original seasons. And I said, thank God, because she was, and I always mention that.
I
And
always
that
loved her though.
she had the biggest revelation going into All-Star. So I said, okay, at least they mentioned that she was bad. You have a personal assistant there with you today? Or is that you're handing off your water to someone?
No, it's a
It looked like you handed it to someone to get. I swear, if you look back,
That's hysterical.
I thought you
that's
handed it to
so
someone to
funny.
get you a refill.
Mom.
I swear, we got everyone. Anyone in the comments, please tell me that looked like Jenna handed her water off to someone.
Oh, you can't even see because my blurry background.
That
I
was
just put it on
great.
a balcony
I thought someone came to give
railing.
you a refill. All right, I'm sorry.
I
Go
should.
on. So
Well,
I was saying
yeah.
John A. John A is up.
John A. I love John A's story because we're talking about seeing growth in people and CT's arc and development. John A. to me grew into herself so incredibly well. She was somebody who let herself get talked down on by ex-boyfriends.
And they showed that
talked to her
tonight,
like
which I was
shit,
like,
treated her like shit. Other people in the house, you know, could talk to her in a certain way, but she grew into her body and her spirit and became mentally so strong. I mean, she always had a toughness and a grittiness about her, but there were certain times when she would become vulnerable and you could see she would allow people to maybe disrespect her, you know? And she really changed that for herself and she grew into like this comfortable in her own skin, confident woman. So I love her development and her growth as a person. And she got better like with age, like we talked about on All Stars. She is a better competitor now as she's older than she was when she was younger. With for a lot of people, that might not always be the case because you get older, you get out of shape, you get this or that. But she actually became better with age.
I think she was playing for something more too in All Star. She's playing for her family, her kids. Yes. Oh, they brought your water back already. And versus back in the day, it was always about her just wanting to party. So there's that as well. And then they did mention the Zach stuff that we talk about all the time, which is him treating her like crap. And they even showed a clip of him treating her like crap. And I was like, that definitely played a factor. Like, she had no confidence because they were literally, he was dragging her to the ground and saying, you suck. It's like, it was mentally just draining on her. So
I know that gaslighting is like a buzzword now, that it's almost being thrown around so much that I feel like that might be losing its quality a little bit, but he was a textbook gaslighter to her that season. Like, God, she would show up and try to perform and he would mess up and then be like, Johnny, this is all your fault. It's just like, we have to work together. I don't know. Where do you get off being so mean? But that's Zach for you, hon.
That is Zach for you. I have to mention the Vernon Davis sighting that we got in the episode. Did you see that in the
You love dogging this guy.
I love dogging Vernon Davis. The fact that they even interviewed him is an insult to me as a challenge fan for years and years.
God.
I cannot believe they wasted.
Under your skin for some reason.
What's that?
He pokes some buttons for you.
He hosted the challenge and did an awful job. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I would do such a good job. I know I'm not a professional athlete, so they're not going to ever ask me to do it. But like, honestly, anyone watching that reunion show knows he did a bad job. So I had to call him out. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Were you shocked to see him on they only used one, they used one line, and it was such a cliched line too that they used of his.
That's what's so crazy about this. They have so many voices that, again, you know, there's how many? 6 episodes?
There's gonna be 2 more next week, and then we go into Ride or Dies the following week.
Okay, yeah. And they do a good job of piecing together everybody's sound bites and really telling the story really well. There's so many voices that there had to be long interviews, and for some people to only get a sound bite here or there, they probably talked to them for well over an hour or 2.
Yeah. No,
in the Underdog story, since we're on the Underdog episode, so back to Sarah, I loved her story. I was really, really glad that they included it, because to me that was, it's called Untold History.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this really untold history? But there's some parts that are. So for me, that was new. And then also the way that they tell Jordan's story, and they include some of that behind the scenes interview footage, talking about how he's throwing up every 10 minutes, but he's getting back in the interview chair, because I feel like that's just the person he is. He obviously is fighting for something bigger, and his disability has always been instrumental in him as a competitor, and also his like storyline and story arc. But to see him get truly emotional and kind of crack through the facade of always being confident was really nice to see. Because
I don't recall, did they use him crying in the actual season?
They did. Yeah, I remember them doing that. And it's just a nice reminder that you can be strong and emotional at the same time, like you don't always have to just have a brave face to be strong. Like, he's still such an incredibly strong, driven person who exceeds any expectation or breaks through like any ceiling, but he can still show that it hurts him or it gets to him sometimes, so I feel like that was because we never see Jordan sad. We always see him maybe deflect some of those emotions into like arrogance or cockiness or anger or something. So it was kind of nice to see him actually expose the bigger meaning that he is trying to get his message out for other people who have disabilities, to show that they can do whatever they want to.
And I think that's huge at the end too, where TJ was like, he's not an underdog. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm glad they kept that moment, because any underdog that's listed here, excluding, I guess, John A. I mean, you put Jordan in your top 5. How many underdogs are in your top 5 of like challenge competitors? I mean, Jordan and who else? That's it for me personally. So it's like, that's such a what a reputation to have, or what an achievement to be like, I'm an underdog, but I'm also considered in the top 5 best challengers of all time. That's like unheard of.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at when before I talked about how they had to figure out how to talk about all these people in these 2 episodes. Like Jordan, you can make the argument that he's also a GOAT, but he's in the underdog episode because I think the importance of him showing how to get over your obstacles, how to fight through these hurdles that may have been presented to you just through genetics, or not at any fault of your own, how that makes him the underdog. Because even though he is, you should never rule him out. He should never necessarily be considered an underdog, because he'll always perform amazingly. But he's always finding himself in these eliminations that, I swear, they say they don't pick the competitions before him, but don't we always feel like it's so much better suited for people with 2 hands? It always is. Like, he's always in the gnarliest eliminations, that a sledgehammer competition, 2 rope competitions, a tug of war. Like, come on. So don't you feel like he is always an underdog because of his disability, because of the games that they have him walk into?
Do you remember my conspiracy for the sledgehammer one?
No.
Didn't Jordan like work construction or something his whole life? So my conspiracy was they purposely gave him a chance there by like, yeah, let's give him a sledgehammer. He knows how to use one. He did it his whole life. Versus he was against Theo, I believe. And Theo, Zach. Was it Zach?
So he was against Theo in a different challenge. Maybe there was 2 hammer challenges. No, remember the sledgehammer one that him and Zach had to compete, where they had to like sidearm the sledgehammer
but
and
there
hit
was one
something,
with
and he
Theo
beat Zach, and I was like, yeah.
But then against Theo, we had to go down with it.
Yes,
there was something with
2.
Theo with a hammer or some type of sledgehammer.
And that's when he proposed to Tori. Yes, so that, yeah, you're right.
Which, again, cannot wait for next week. Danny Drum is here for it. We're going to hear all about the love and the relationships and hopefully some more gossip, maybe some untold stuff that we don't know about. But they obviously are going to talk about Tori and Jordan. They're going to talk about Diem and CT and hopefully not too much Cara and Polly, but I don't know. I'm here for it, though. I'm excited.
We're here for it.
Yeah. Anything else on the underdog side? They mentioned Derek K briefly.
Derek. Oh my gosh. Derek is just, they talk about Miz and the GOAT, but I feel like Derek and Miz are comparable to each other because I just feel like they have crazy energy. Like they are just that stereotypical, so not afraid of death. Like I feel like if they weren't on the challenge, they could be on Jackass. You know, like the way those two men are, they're just like, where do they get this energy? I feel like they sleep for 2 hours a night and then go out and can run 12 miles and still like be ready to go. Like they just have crazy energy and personalities. So Derek, I'm glad that he got in there because I think it's his height that people rule him out or they see him as having a small body composition.
Everyone's built differently, and Derek's been short and small his whole life, so it's that. And same with Jordan, he's always had one hand. Like it's that inner thing where you live with it for so long, you're not afraid. You can take that, you can go to that next level, all that kind of stuff that others might not be able to because they were maybe built like a Greek god their whole life, like a Zach. Like Zach was not mentioned tonight for a reason. Because the dude's not a goat on the damn show. And he's jacked out of his
Greek
mind.
God. Because me and my friend were just talking about how CT was literally a Greek god. We're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even look like that? How are you made that way?
You are super attracted to CT. Am I right by saying that? And you're not allowed to answer
obvious?
So, yeah.
Is it that obvious?
Well, I'm just asking because so CT's like your number one. If you had to pick like the most attractive person to ever appear on the challenge, you go CT? It's legitimate. Yeah. It's a legitimate question that I think people in the comment section also comment on as well.
100%.
Yeah.
How about you?
Maybe I'm gonna forget somebody, but like I told you, Jamie. I mentioned last week Jamie Chung. I mentioned. Were you not here for it? I mentioned Jamie Chung, Avery. I mentioned. And then I'll add on to that. I've always, for some reason, had a thing for Brittany as well. Remember
Brittany, Wild Brittany, who was with Brad that one season?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
I always had a thing for her.
That's funny.
I know I'm missing some other ladies as well.
I mean, I think Nani is gorgeous, and I think she is aging like fine wine. Like she looks amazing every season she comes back. I think Tori is beautiful. Cam is beautiful. There's a lot.
You can't go wrong with any of those. Let's be all right. Let's get to before we move on to the GOATs, anybody left out that you were upset about for underdogs? Any other underdogs out there that you felt should have been mentioned? I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. But I figured I'd throw it to you. In the comment section, also tell us if there's any underdogs you thought were left out.
Yeah.
This guy's not an underdog at all, but remember Hunter's season where he had to go into like back-to-back eliminations and he had a broken wrist that time? I think we covered it at AfterBuzz TV. Remember when he broke his like wrist?
Yeah.
And I thought that was
Hunter.
But he's not an underdog, but I thought that was a great, he overcame that though. And I thought that was an interesting time.
Hunter and the whole, what do they call each other? The young Bucks.
You want to say the young Bucks?
The young Bucks is tough for me because those guys just all came in so cocky and so hot and heavy, and their own celebrations to them winning some of these eliminations. Like historically, a lot of people have done that, but the way those guys came in very early on, it always just kind of like made me roll my eyes. So I don't know if I can fully get behind that just because of their like obscene cocky celebrations after they won.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not like saying he's an underdog. I'm just trying to throw a name out there and see because that one experience that he had on the show. Anyways, all right, let's move.
That's interesting.
We can move on to
we didn't really talk about Diem and Leroy.
Oh yeah,
I
Leroy's
mean,
on. Oh yeah, Leroy. Oh yeah, and they talk about DM too. Right. Sorry.
no, it's okay. When they talked about, Diem having that moment that is so memorable on reality TV, I personally agree with that because I can vividly remember that duel moment. Like
I've gone back and rewatched it that season multiple times because it was so influential to me. Like saying this, like you go back and watch that and you say that's reality TV. In the moment when you're watching, you're like, okay, this is a big deal, but like it doesn't get any better than that. Like watching something like that is just such a powerful statement by a single person, and we take like for granted those moments because now you go back like, why can't I have more DM moments? Well, they're trying to find stuff, but it's just never going to be as good as that, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, and your hair is so crucial to your identity. If it's gone, I feel like you don't realize how important it is until it's gone, and it takes so much of you with it. And you can see her pacing back and forth and her fear, this terror she's in about having to take off her wig and let everybody see, what she looks like with her chemo treatments and losing so much hair. And the support and the love and the inspiration I think a lot of people felt from watching her do that on TV was so significant.
Yeah. As far as the Leroy stuff, for me, it's always been, and I'm glad they mentioned tonight, he's always putting Banana's needs and interests ahead of his own. And he did it for years on the show. And we've talked about, I believe, before. And I'm so happy that they mentioned it tonight because, like, a lot of things they talked about, I'm like, oh, we talk about that on our show. So it's like, I'm glad that what we're saying isn't just out of the blue. Like, other people feel this way as well. And that's like my biggest thing with Leroy. He's always put Bananas before himself. Like when he wanted to make that move against, with Wes, he wanted to put Wes against Bananas at one point. I forget what that was, that scene that they showed. And ultimately, I don't think he decided to do that because of what Banana said to him.
He was always fine with being the Robin to
That's
Batman,
true.
and that's what makes you love him, but also makes you want him to fight for himself too. So it was good he went into that last season trying his absolute best. His story is similar to Nani's though, where they never could do it. They never could close
and fun
that gap.
fact, they both appeared on the same Real World season in Las Vegas together, I believe. So something to say there, I guess. Maybe not, maybe not, whatever.
I'm glad that Leroy was a vignette in one of these episodes though, because he's just one of the most likable people to ever play the game.
And he was such a huge part of the challenge for so many years. How do you not talk about him?
Yeah.
Are we ready for the goats? Because I have a couple I have a couple issues with the goats. So
okay.
No issues. No issues for you on the goat side.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I'll let you start this one off. Well, do you want to just go through the whole list? I
have them in order. Yeah, we need to talk about the Miz a little bit because I thought it was really interesting how they said that one of the big reasons that he kind of made the Miz character was a way for him to connect with his roommates on the Real World back to New York, which I watched that entire season. And there was moments where he was disconnected from them. He wasn't connecting with his roommates. Are you reading something or are you confused with what I'm saying?
I'm looking something up because you finish and then I'll talk about my thing.
Okay, well, I'm just saying turning into the Miz was a way for him to connect with his roommates, kind of be a goofy guy, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's where the Miz kind of sprung from. And he gave a lot of credit to the Real World because when he, and the challenge was when he won the challenge, he took that money and he invested in himself with, the wrestling classes and also the acting classes, wrestling school, I guess he called it. But yeah, I thought it was just such what a great story he is though. I just thought it's a great story.
Well, because again, I talked about him and Derek having just this like jackass energy, right? Could you see the Miz doing anything else in life? Like, no, he's not going to go be an accountant. Like, he's not gonna be a like business guy, he's gonna be a performer. Like that's his DNA. So it makes perfect sense for him to go down that road. Like, I just don't think he could find anything mentally stimulating enough for him to hold his attention, like being, especially WWE. Like, that is just, you have all those people in the crowd. It's a wrestling mixed with acting, mixed with being goofy and crazy and over the top. Like, it just seems so suitable to his personality. Do you know, and I think about this every time I see The Miz, this is kind of niche, and so I'm excited if anybody knows what I'm talking about and if they can comment about it. There was this band, it had to have been late 90s, early 2000s, that was a parody show on MTV. The band was called Together with the Two.
100% know that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I love, they have the one song, You plus me equals us.
But why are
If
you
I'm
bringing
in a
this
bad
up?
mood, because I wonder if I can share my screen. Can you give me privileges to share
Yeah,
my
I can
screen
give you
with
privilege to
you?
your screen. Yeah.
Because The Miz always reminds me of this one guy in the Together band that I can't differentiate them. Like when I see Miz, I see the other guy too. Because I loved that song, You plus me equals us. Like,
Can you share
if
now?
I'm ever in a bad mood. Okay, so here's the guy.
Yeah, he looks like the Miz. Yeah,
He does, right? Also, how how like
yeah. I mean, that
silly is
guy's
the way
gone
that
on to do a bunch of TV shows, by the way.
Oh, he doesn't. This
Him.
guy.
Yeah.
They're the same person. Come on.
So he's an act. I mean, they're all. I guess they're all actors in theory, but that guy's gone on to do a bunch of different TV shows. He actually was the boyfriend to that blonde chick that was on Dawson's Creek for a while on a TV show for a while.
No
Maybe it was on.
way.
Who's the blonde
And
girl?
then
She had a funny
this
name on.
guy.
She was on that. Oh my God.
Michelle.
No, not Michelle. Well, maybe not Michelle Williams though. Hold on, it's gonna bother me so much. I'm typing in.
I know my calculus. Come on, I love it.
No, this is
Anyways.
that was a great reality slash TV show slash whatever you want to call it.
So good.
But
So yeah, that's my thing on The Miz. Is I just think of Together, the best band ever.
Freaks and Geeks, and then her name on Freaks and Geeks is she's got that funny name.
Oh, Lindsay Cardinelli?
But no, Bussy Phillips. Okay, that guy you're talking about.
Well, it's Busy.
Yeah, whatever.
It's Busy, not Bussy.
Bussy, Busy, whatever. Yeah, so Busy Phillips.
I saw her at the Gelsons in Hollywood, where I used to live. So
Busy
we're
Phillips,
basically friends.
Busy Phillips dated him, that guy you're showing on a TV show. Like not like they were just their characters dated. And I'm trying to think what show it is. It's gonna bother me. What's his name in real life? You gotta look up his real name, and then I can tell you.
Blonde guy in Together that looks like the Miz is his name. Okay, let's keep moving down the list. So the next person that they mentioned is Anisa. And this is where I feel like you have a take. So I'm gonna let you have the floor.
No, they mentioned the things I was critical about. They mentioned she's never won a final. And I've been critical of her over years for that. But I think it becomes that longevity thing. Like that's why they mentioned Nani. That's why they mentioned a Leroy. But they mentioned Anisa because she has been here for so long. Like I said, her elimination record is 500, but she's just appeared in so many of them. She's like 14 and 14 or whatever it is. So you have to take that into consideration. And you also have to take into consideration the things that she did that weren't in, challenge related, like her, representing her community and her being on an early episode of The Real World and representing something that we've never, I don't know how much that type of person we had seen on reality TV before. So if you want to consider her GOAT for those type of reasons, and that's another reason why she's considered a GOAT, then I'm fine with it. But if we're basing it purely on challenge stuff, it's she's won. They mentioned, she's won so many eliminations. Yeah, but she's lost so many. They failed to mention that, so it rubbed me the wrong way. And then I have another person that I can mention later, but
yeah. So that's correct in your view because it matters of perception. So what makes a GOAT? Is it their legacy on television? Like Anisa, to me, I love her so much that when that superfan, the screenwriter, talked about hearing her voice at a Philly airport, immediately recognizing it, and the whole flight wanting to be like, so what's Anisa doing? Like I felt that because I feel like that's what Anisa is to people who've watched the challenge forever. She is somebody who you just love her as a person that, we talked about bananas and CT being synonymous with the challenge. And again, it's Anisa's longevity. What she has done on her legacy of the show, you can't talk about the challenge without having Anisa involved. I feel like she's such a staple of the show that for that reason, she deserves her recognition. But then I guess when you talk about true competitive and athletic ability, you know, maybe she can fall short because she doesn't necessarily always have the highest physical fitness on a lot of these shows. But at one point she did. And maybe all the years of her being on the show worked against her because she isn't in the type of shape that she used to be in the past. So I wonder if it's like, do you end on a high note and leave and walk out kind of when you're at the top of your game? Or do you stay on because you're Anisa and continue to do all these seasons, but then maybe people look at you as a lesser competitor because, you know, you're kind of like getting older, maybe more out of shape. I don't know. Those are kind of the two different ways of looking at it.
So like, you're 100% right. She's a staple of the challenge. She deserves to be mentioned in this documentary, but it's like, does she go in this section, the GOAT section, or does she fall somewhere else? I'm not sure where you may like, you know, game changers or a section, or like there's another section of like Diem needs her section. Maybe Anisa goes in that, like just someone that changed the challenge for the better, that made their mark on the, there should be people that made their mark on the challenge, and do a list of those type of people that weren't necessarily the best competitors, weren't necessarily underdogs. They're just there. Like, in a way, does Brad deserve a spot in that? Like, he deserves to be talked. Brad deserves to be talked about at some point because he's a staple on the show. But he's not going to be talked about unless maybe him and Brittany are talked about in the romance section. But I don't know. So like, there is a section for people that not necessarily are the best and aren't necessarily underdogs that need to be talked about as well. Like you mentioned, Evelyn. Evelyn needs to be talked about at some point. Are they going to even mention her? I don't know.
I know.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a section for Anisa that's not here. That's my vibe on it. But what other female GOATs can you put in here? That was my other thought.
Well, we kind of just talked about that. Like Emily Schramm, I think, as a competitor, could kick everybody's ass tomorrow. You know, like she could come back on the show. Emily, Evelyn,
Paula, maybe.
I do think, you know, Paula, she was big time at one point. She definitely was one of those who came on season after season and was more on a level of a Nani where she would never win, but would always try her absolute hardest.
Yeah.
But I think she was athletically better than Nani. And then her and Emily did win rivals. So she did end up winning.
She's been to 5 finals and she won 2 of them. She actually won Rivals and Rivals 2. And her record in eliminations is 5-5, but she has 30 daily wins. And I know you don't like to base it on stats, but those are some good statistics for her. So there's that.
Yeah.
And she always, I remember the daily wins to have 30 of those. I remember her always performing well on challenge days.
She always gave it her all. And she was somebody who I feel like was more of those plucked out of obscurity people instead of like a CrossFitter, you know? Like she
what did she appear on before? That's what I could look at. Yeah, where was she at?
Yeah,
where was she from? Oh, Real World Key West. I do remember that. She was with Johnny Bananas. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's from Connecticut. There you go. She's from Connecticut. She's from the East Coast.
Oh, okay. So they include Darrell, thank God, because that would be an injustice if they did not. We already talked about him earlier, how he always teeters the line, I feel like, of being top 3. Like he's top 3, you know, but
he does have some weaknesses, though, that you can also mention if you want to take him out of the top 3 and make him top 5 or top 10. The heights thing is huge. Remember that they showed the water thing where he was afraid to put his hand over the water because he thought the snakes were going to come and get him or something. He was trying to reach they were just showing him on the inner tube today.
This is what I like about Darrell, though, is that he still so is badass within his own fears, because who isn't scared of something? Everybody has something that
for sure, but to show weakness like that I think it's an interesting
but it's like an authentic weakness, which I like. Like he's just like, I fucking hate heights. I'm not doing this.
For sure, but TJ hates quitters. You got to look at the other side of that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Cara lives.
She's
Cara
next.
Gets her moment. What was
she
your take on?
Still very confused on why she's not being interviewed, though. They got Polly. Like, come on. If they get Polly, they can get Cara. If they get Cara, they don't need Polly. So why is Polly being interviewed? So my best guess is that Cara didn't want to do it. They had no issue interviewing, or not interviewing, but talking about her. She had a very large moment that they could not ignore. Why wouldn't they have her on to interview? Even if it's just for that moment.
So she went on Instagram.
Oh, here we go.
And posted. It's not that crazy.
You made me feel like it was.
No, she posted that she wasn't asked. That she wasn't asked to
Wow.
contribute.
Why
Yeah.
not? Why would see? I'm not sure I believe that, and I love
Mm.
conspiracies and I love hating on the producers, but why the hell is Polly being interviewed then? If she, why
Yeah,
would
I
they
don't
ask
know.
Polly and not her? She needs to do a live story right now, and I need to ask her straight up in that, and she needs to answer it. Why did they ask Polly then, Cara?
I don't know. We can only assume, and I'm not trying to put like fake gossip out there.
No, it's
so
fine.
I
I
don't
don't. I
know.
mean, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
give
that's
me a break.
interesting that they didn't ask her. But she has her moments, and Cara, I think, was like, I don't want to just throw the term bullied around, but I feel like she really was picked on for
Yeah.
a lot of years, like wrongfully by like bigger, louder mouth people, you know, like she was just this target for some reason. And she kept coming back and she kept coming back stronger, changed her lifestyle, became a competitor, and won the first solo final ever,
Yeah.
like, against Zach, against her ex
Kyle, yeah. So that was Vendetta's, and the reason that I remember that she won, but I didn't remember that she won that one because I believe that was the one that they announced on the reunion or something like a week later. So like at the end of the episode, they said, well, one of you has won, but we don't know who. They wouldn't tell us. And then you didn't get to find out till the reunion. I guess I watched the reunion. Was this before? What season was Vendetta?
I'm sure we did an after show on
But
it.
I don't think I wasn't with you until season 32. I'm wondering what season Vendetta's was because I didn't appear until 32 with you guys on after
Yeah,
this. So
it had to have been 29 or 31 then, because 30 was Dirty 30. Final Reckoning was in there somewhere. Maybe it went Vendetta's Dirty 30 Final Reckoning, because didn't they make it like a trilogy?
But Final Reckoning, I believe
Like,
I thought I was on
sense.
AfterBuzz at that time. I'm sure I can look it up. 2 seconds. But
Oh, I see. Okay.
well,
Anyway,
right,
that's
so,
not important.
Well, so my favorite challenger of all time is next, and you know who that is.
Westicle.
Yeah, so they talk about West and how he's the politician. They mostly talk about his political game versus his like I'm good at challenges game, which I thought was a little like I know he's only won 3, or I thought he won 5 though for some reason. Vendettas was season 31st, so that's right before I joined you for 32.
Yeah, I have a take on that. I would argue that Wes's athleticism and his endurance, it's actually him as an athlete, to me, that makes him a better competitor than his politicking. I think that he's received this title as being a politician and playing this manipulative social game, but I think that's thinner than the show or his storyline makes it seem, because there was always a shadow of mistrust over Wes. Wes would have a plan. He would talk to certain people about his plan, and then there would be confessional of people saying they don't trust it and they don't even care what he's saying. So I think that he's gotten this title as being a puppet master, but I would argue that his athleticism and him just being a competitor makes him good at this show rather than his politics, because there was always people that didn't trust him, didn't want to be in his side, and were like, watch out for Wes. Like, it became very obvious very quick that he was trying to over politic.
Right. 8 finals and 3 wins in those finals, if you want to know his score.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like he needs a couple, like he needs like another final win or something, because if you look at CT and Bananas, they've won more than 3. That's for damn sure, you know.
Yeah,
they're the biggest winners, right? CT and Bananas. They won the most.
Darrell.
Well, Darrell's won 4. Bananas has won. Oh my god,
6,
he's won so many.
Right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's won 7. He's won 7. Oh my god, that's insane.
Oh my god, this banana.
So CT must be right behind.
Also, like, he feels like one of those that you can't talk about the challenge.
You can't. Wes was so huge on it. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, stupid thing. He's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What do you think about him as a politician, puppet mastermind character?
I think it's like what you said. He's been giving this title, and yes, he's very good at doing this manipulation or trying to do it and trying to, but like the problem with that, and I've said it for years and years watching him on the show, every year you do this, people go and watch the show after, and you get less and less trustworthy. So how good of a politician can you be when they already know you're a liar? So it has to come down to more based on him being good at these little games and him being good at being in finals. And that's why he comes back in better shape every year, because he knows that he cannot just keep doing this politician crap. Because, lie to me once, shame on you, lie to me twice, shame on me, whatever the hell it is, or opposite that. Yeah. The one that George Bush messed up back in the day. So it's I
was going to say that too. Fool me once.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Fool me twice. Can't get fooled again.
Yeah. The point is that I can't get fooled. I can't get fooled twice. I'm like, all right, George.
Iconic moment. All right, Mr. George.
It says here that CT's also won 7. So it's pretty interesting.
Wow. Okay. So they bring up Cam next.
Yes.
Cam, she is somebody who has not had the longevity like an Anisa, who has not been around for that long. But every show that she's been on, she's done really well. Like, she competes so well in elimination. And I'd like to talk to her about what she feels in her body and mind when she competes, because it looks like there's nothing there. Like, it looks like she's locked in and she never has like a fear or anxiety about going into elimination.
Some people have that and some don't, and it's such a huge advantage to those that do. So for sure. I'll say this: she's never won a final. She's been to 3 of them, but her elimination record is 10-2. And I think what's funny is Laurel's mentioned next. We can go back to Cam though if you'd like as well. Laurel's mentioned next, and they call her the elimination queen, but her elimination record's only 9-2. So I was like, wait a minute though. So why you like that was like their basis for why Laurel's a GOAT, but Laurel has also been to 4 finals and she won 1. So she does have at least the 1 victory there. But I thought it was interesting they call Laurel the challenge queen. I'm like, well, I know I'm not the biggest Cam fan, but technically Cam has won 1 extra elimination than her. So what are we doing here? Like, why is she the elimination queen, Laurel, when Cam's won more?
Well, because I think people nicknamed her that. Like, they started to refer to her in that way. So that's why they used her.
Understood, but I just thought it was interesting that actually Cam technically has a better elimination record than Laurel.
Or Laurel has a better one than Cam, is what you were saying.
Cam is 10-2. Laurel's only 9-2.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it was funny they called Laurel the elimination queen when technically Cam is the winner of that.
Okay, got it. I confused that entirely.
But Laurel has been to 4 finals and actually won 1 of them, where Cam has been to 3 and won nada. So there's that as well.
Yeah.
They did mention the big controversy, which we love to talk about, her and Ninja climbing that fake tree thing, the trust, whatever it's called, and her jamming it into the top, which it wasn't a thing. But I don't remember my take on it, but rewatching what they showed us on the show and the fact that TJ blew the whistle, I do wonder if there should have been a redo and they start over. I don't know. I don't know what my original take was, Jenna. I do not know. Remember. But that's interesting.
Why did me and my friend say the same thing? We were so looking forward to that moment. And my friend turned to me. He was like, do you think they're going to show the part when she lost to Ninja? And it was hysterical. And we're like, no, they can't do that during like her highlight reel. But they showed it in her section of being the GOAT. They show her losing because of not following the right rules or like a technicality in the game. And we remember like, so what I'm thinking is our take was probably like, Laurel, you lost, go home, get out of here. Like, how hysterical, you were talking so much shit and you lost to Ninja. So pack your bags. But now we had the same take rewatching it. We're like, actually, that was one of those really shady production challenge moments where they blew that horn. They blew the horn indicating she lost. No, she didn't really have the luxury of, I'm sorry that she won. So
it's fine. I get you.
Indicating that Ninja lost, that the game was over. Blew the horn, game over. Blow the whistle. And so now she's not going and retracing her steps the way Ninja is. Ninja's like, well, let me.
And then Ninja starts to climb up, and then Laurel's still like, what the hell's going on? And they didn't show Laurel suck it though. Remember that she did a suck it after? They didn't show her doing the suck it.
Crazy. That was so cringy.
I'm like, is that they can't show that type of stuff anymore on TV? Because like I don't know, but I like, where's the suck it though?
I think they were trying to spare her.
Yes, that was very embarrassing. Yes.
But I agree with you that I think that was one of those shady moments where it's like, they shouldn't have blown the whistle if she didn't do it properly.
TJ did admit, he goes, I'm sorry, I messed up, but you still lost. It's like, whoa, that's even more like, wait, you messed, TJ, you ejaculated the horn? Like, what are we doing here? Like, that to me, if the teacher makes a mistake on your test, you get to keep that answer as correct. Well, TJ is the teacher and he made the mistake. You should get to redo it. I'm sorry, but I go back. Again, I don't know what my take was originally, but to me now I'm looking, I'm like, wait, they should have had to start all over. And maybe they didn't want to start all over because like, well, we don't have enough time to show that drama, but we also want to show that drama. We don't want to have to redo this whole thing again. So maybe it's best for the show to have that drama there instead and not redo it. I don't know.
Yeah. And once you open up that can, then you got to redo so many eliminations, I'm sure. Again, this is a TV show where things go wrong and equipment can malfunction. So it's like, Mark in 2 challenges, you could talk about whether it's his body weight, whatever, he's breaking these bikes left and right. He can never get a bike that works for him. So it's like, do they restart the whole final because his equipment malfunctioned? It's that sort of thing. How do you then make sure it's always fair and even? But that one's pretty blatant. Like, that one's pretty like, damn, you blew that horn. She thought she won that shit.
That's the thing too. If TJ didn't blow the horn and he should have been like, sorry, Laurel, you have one in the wrong place. Don't tell her which one it is. That's not fair. Say, sorry, you have one that's not in the correct place, and then make her go up and find it. That's one thing. I totally get it. But to blow the horn and say, Laurel, you've won, and this, oh, sorry, we're just going to give it to Ninja because you put one in the wrong place. That shouldn't be a DQ or whatever. I know Ninja went back up and put it in the right place, but now Laurel's not even like attempting to fix it because she thinks she's already won. That was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah. But she has her place on the throne. She is the third one mentioned. Like, I feel like they're building up, and I get that sense when they show CT first. I'm like, oh, they haven't showed Banana yet. So I guess this is the challenge's way of saying like Banana is probably, you save the best for last sort of thing. So they're building up to it.
Yeah, they mentioned the bananas, and so they try to do a full story arc, which I also appreciate. They start off on Cutthroat with, which I did not even remember this happened, CT coming in as a mercenary and then doing the backpack thing to Bananas.
You didn't remember the backpack? Or you just didn't remember that?
I remember the backpack. Did you remember that CT was actually just a mercenary and wasn't even on the season?
Yes.
You did remember that as well.
Because I'm smart. No, I'm kidding.
How do I not remember the backpack? I mean, Pamela dressed up as him for Christmas, or for Halloween one year with us. I mean, of course I remember the backpack, but I did not remember that CT was just a mercenary on that part. I thought he was there all season.
And that's why CT is special to me, because again, to just become this like, and it's his body, right? It's the fact that he's over 6 foot and he's this incredibly like gifted man that he can be this big and strong. So yes, his body works in his benefit, but also you could just be like a couch potato and still have that body. Like you could still have the potential, but he lives up and surpasses his potential. But to be able to put someone on your back as the backpack, like that is why he is special,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, we do have to talk about CT in general. He's mentioned after Laurel. They do CT's whole backstory. And I wrote down just a mercenary and Cutthroat. Didn't remember that.
Yeah, because CT, I mean, really, he's also just an example of a human. Like Anisa said, he's had to go through a lot of rough stuff that makes him act the way he acts, but without thinking of what could be suppressed, you could make the argument like he really wasn't a good person maybe when he came on the show in the beginning. Like,
I don't remember
mean to a lot of people.
Until he met Diem and you started to see that change, I never liked CT. Even on his season of The Real World Paris, I thought he was a jerk, which he was. It is what it is. He was a womanizing jerk. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But he's come so far. When he started acting that way to Diem, I couldn't like the guy anymore. Like, I was like, this guy's like, to see someone grow and to see someone change and to become a better person. Of course you're rooting for that. You're rooting for everybody to become a better person. I'm rooting for myself to become a better person every goddamn day. So
Exactly.
I mean, there's all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is great. Great to see, and couldn't love CT anymore. He's one of the best players to ever appear on the show, for sure.
And he also is one of those people who gives you those one-liners that you remember forever. Like, I will smash his head and eat it.
I mean, insane.
Like, how terrorizing and terrifying to be the recipient of that message from CT. But as a third-party viewer, safe and sound on their couch, seeing someone say, I will smash their head and eat it.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like such a great line. You know, there's like nothing better other than like the Jersey Shore people. Like the Mike situation saying, you are excluded from ravioli night. You are excluded from lasagna nights. Like CT also has those liners that are, you trying to take money out of my family's pocket?
Wait, that was CT?
That was my Boston pocket.
It sounded like a British accent, but yeah.
Pockets.
Yes, that's it is.
Pocket. Are you trying to take pounds?
It's one thing for me to say I didn't like CT at the beginning, but it's another thing to say that I wasn't entertained by him, because that's just not true. I was so entertained with the things they would say and the things that he would do on the show. That's for damn sure. Every season when the first episode aired, I'm like, okay, it's the opening night, it's the opening party. Who's going to get in a fight tonight? Someone's getting in a fight. You can't say that anymore. It's just not, there's no juice to it anymore. Like there's always, I was like, guaranteed someone's making a mistake tonight. I can't wait to see who it is. It was must-watch TV. It was like, everyone gather around the TV tonight, get the fireplace on, get the popcorn ready, sit down, enjoy the night, because something big is going to happen on the challenge. And that's what it was every year for 10 plus years. You don't get that anymore. Now we're going to get a bunch of interviews with people. They're all going to show slow walk-ups on 38. They're all going to say what they've done in the past, and they're all going to play nice. That's going to be okay.
Oh my God, you're so right. That is going to be the first 10 minutes. Let's see. Maybe they'll change it because, you know, they watch our show.
They know to not do this anymore. We don't need slow walk-ups. Get to the drama. Let me see Tori talk to Jordan, which they do show in a preview for the new Ride or Die season. And they don't look happy. At least what they showed was her saying something very quickly, and she did not seem happy. So this is good. It's something.
Oh man, what a difficult situation. Ugh.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's already been filmed. It's already over. They're back. They're clearly not together. He's dating someone. They're fine. They're just friends-ish, I guess. So. Okay.
All right. So we get to the last man standing.
Yes.
Knew it was going to be bananas. Imagine they just do like a whole episode of the goats and they don't even put bananas in it.
They had to talk about him and Sarah. I mean, that's one of the biggest moves ever in challenge history. They had to mention it. Notice Sarah's not mentioned on either side. I think she's one of those people in the middle that could be talked about from her perspective of losing that kind of money and working hard. You know, they didn't even interview her. There's no interview with her yet, at least. So she wasn't.
What did you think about seeing the unseen footage of him crying in his interview? What do you think?
And I wrote that down. I wrote it down actually as we were talking because I remembered. I said the Bananas Untold history green screen stuff. Why did they not show that? They wanted to make him the villain. They refused to show the sad side. And I know you got that vibe too. It's like, I know what you producers are going for, but like, he is on your Mount Rushmore, let's say. Do you want to paint him in such a villain light, or do you want to show that other side of him? They decided not to show the other side of him until literally 6, 7, 8 years later now in Untold history. I thought it seemed real to me, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you still should have given her half the money. I think. And I think others still feel that way, even if they showed him crying. They still said, dude, you're crying. Why? You took the money. You had the choice to give her half. You shouldn't be crying. So there would have still been the hate on him for that. But I thought it was interesting that they showed it. I thought it was powerful stuff, like him or hate him.
I do think it was sincere, because I don't think if he's somebody who really has it in to fake cry, because I don't think he shies away from his villain personality traits. For example, it's interesting because the tears, I was like, wow, they did definitely withhold that from us to make sure that villain arc stuck. And it did. However, he did still steal the money. And
that's what I mean, right?
And it's really, him and Sarah won that together. Like Bananas.
To mention together again. We'll mention the TV show
together. Be together. But no, seriously, like she was head and shoulders above the rest of the women in the other final partnerships. There were so many things he would not have been able to do as efficiently and as quickly without Sarah. Like she wasn't just someone who like kept up and held her own. Like she had an instrumental role in that partnership and them winning. But what's interesting is that in that interview is the only time he talks about part of the reason he did this was for an opportunity he felt like he might never get again in terms of life-changing money, and how it was not personal against Sarah, which is interesting because in other interviews he's had the opportunity to say that and he never has. So we see this unseen footage of him crying in kind of like his exit interview confessional, but he's been on our show when we've talked about Sarah. He's been on other podcasts. He's done other interviews when he talked about Sarah's situation and stealing the money. And he's always said it was because she started it. She did this first. She took an opportunity from me. Therefore, I took the money from her. But he's never said, listen, you know what? It wasn't actually personal. I want her to know I didn't mean to hurt her. I just never thought I could get this life-changing money before.
Does that
He's had other opportunities.
But you know why he did it,
right?
Said it. Once he saw that MTV didn't show his crying confessional, he said, oh, they're playing a narrative here. Maybe I need to keep this up to promote myself as a challenge competitor. Yeah. And I wonder if there's any truth to that. I'm not sure. Right. But he's clearly made the decision to base it on the fact that she went against him and Nani in the previous season and use that as the motivation to taking the money versus saying, I'm never gonna get this chance to have this kind of money again. So I just took it for that reason. I feel bad for Sarah. I wish I didn't have to do it, but I want that damn money. And it definitely, spoke volumes as far as creating that villain that we saw seasons later as well.
But then that makes me backpedal on me thinking his tears are sincere, or I wonder if
maybe I'm saying I think his tears were sincere, but when he saw that MTV decided not to use that side of him, he went full villain with it instead.
Yeah, and there's also a curiosity of what people do that we never know that's off social media and off the edit. Meaning, like, did he ever write her a letter? Did he ever call her? Did he ever try to talk to her about it? Because I even remember being pissed off in the reunion, because I even remember him being so unapologetic about it. And it's one thing to steal the money. I mean, I guess you stick to your decisions. Like, you made your decisions, you made your bed. He was lying in it, definitely. He was dying in the grave he buried for himself. But no, he wasn't, though, because what annoyed me on the reunion is that he was being so like defensive of his decision when I felt like he could have just been a little bit more apologetic. But I don't know, that's me.
I think he was playing he was playing into the Bananas character at that point. The last episode had already aired. He saw they didn't use any of that footage of him showing some type of when you feel bad for doing something to somebody. You're frozen. That's not good. Oh wait, you're back. Oh, you're back. Oh my goodness. Yes, not humility. I'm trying to think of the word to use there when you feel bad for hurting somebody. He didn't show any of that. They didn't show any of that stuff. Empathy. Thank you. They didn't show any of his empathy that he showed in that confessional that they probably filmed pretty soon after the show. So he was still emotional about it. Then he's got 3 months of watching the season. Then he's got another week after he realized they haven't showed any of his empathy stuff. He's like, I'm just going to play into the character they want, and they're going to hire me for more seasons, and this way I'll make more money. So maybe that was it. I have no idea, though, obviously. It's all just assumptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I know it's important to defend yourself and your decisions, but I guess what bothered me about it was that he always kept going back to that exes to elimination, that she decided to throw him into elimination. Like, that was always the point he made in his press tour about why he stole the money. And I was just like, I don't know. Does that really justify? I don't know. That doesn't feel like valid enough of a point for me, because she learned from you. Like, you always
can't we
cut your alliances? Like,
yeah, very true. Any goats that you felt were left off of this list? We kind of mentioned Evelyn. We kind of mentioned, how about a Landon? Should a Landon be on there?
Again, you talk about like longevity and maybe the people who stayed on the show for the longest and have recency bias, because he was so short in his prime, but Alton was amazing in his prime.
Yeah.
But he wasn't on it long enough.
Right.
You know?
And there's a thing about a time too. Like we have an hour to do this thing. Maybe they did interview them about it. They show interviews with Landon. They're like, we ran out of stuff. So literally Landon appeared on 4 seasons. He went to 3 finals. And guess how many finals he won?
2.
3. He won all the ones he went to.
He won all 3. Like his success rate is through the roof.
But he's only went to 4 challenges.
Oh my God.
That's it. He's only been on.
Yeah, but you think about it, took CT 10 years to win his first. Like Landon came, saw, conquered, left, lived his life. Like,
Thank you.
That's a really, really good challenge career. Like,
agreed.
In his sample pool, he is a goat. Oh man, it's just so funny. We just slap fucking goat around everywhere, right? Like,
and like,
even in the sports world, everyone's a goddamn goat. Like, baba.
So like he won 24 daily wins in those 4 seasons, and he's 5-1 in eliminations. It's crazy. He only lost 1 elimination. It must have been in the duel too, because that's the only time he didn't make it to a final.
What does he do with his life? Like I feel like he was so athletic.
Let me look up Alton's.
Should have been like a professional rugby player. Like I feel like he had that.
He was a big dude, yeah. Even Alton, like you said here, he went to 3 finals and he only won 1. And he appeared on 4. He only appeared on 4 seasons though. He's 5-1 in eliminations as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, he went to an All-Stars final as well. We can count that as one too. Anyways, yeah, Alton was always good.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, I don't know if anyone in the comments section wants to throw down some more names of goats or underdogs that we may have missed, please do, and give us a hard time about it because that's fun as well.
I'm excited for everybody's comments. They've been cracking me up lately.
Yeah, we had some really great comments for part 1 and 2. Yeah, that was blowing up quite nicely. We had a good response to our first episode of the history, Untold history.
Untold history. And I like everyone's fact checking. Like it is so funny because Pam, shout out Pam, who isn't here. I'm gonna talk about you, Pam. So we'll test you to see if you listen to our shows when you're not here. She said that she had recently watched all of these challenges, but then proceeded to get like all of the information wrong.
Correct. Yeah, I heard them talk about that. Yeah. Because she had said that
hysterical. Like, how did you like yesterday I finished fresh meat and this person won, and they're like, no, they didn't.
So Darrell won fresh meat with like this girl named Avi or something, which we never
Siobhan, yeah.
We never saw her again, but she thought it was Siobhan who sucked on the show. So when she said that information, I said, that sounds off, but I can't call her out because I don't know the true thing. But I think I might have said that. I don't think it was Siobhan that won. It was this random girl that we never saw again that won with Darrell. So yeah, there is that. Yeah. Good times.
That was funny.
Good times.
Good times.
All right. Any final thoughts, Jenna, before we get out of here and I throw this up on the YouTube? You can check out our Patreon. We have the Big Brother 24, the finale of that, all the talk on that. Pam and I talked about that on Monday. God. So that's all up there on the Patreon. So many
episodes behind.
Well, that's okay. But, Pam and I were thinking about, and tell us in the comment section if you like this idea, our next Patreon show we cover is Bachelor in Paradise. What do you think of that? It just started on Tuesday. Right.
I don't know if I'm super excited for that. I don't know. I'm not a Bachelor World gal, but it's
okay.
Good.
Me either. I've never watched it. I watched it, and it's like the real world on a beach. It really is.
House of Dragons or something. Like I want to do something that's not reality TV too. Let's do House of Dragons instead.
Yeah, but I haven't even started that show, and they're like, how many episodes in?
Get cracking.
It's like an hour episode of that stuff.
But you're gonna fly.
All right, tell us in the comment section if there's a non-reality show that you think we should cover, and we'll cover. Maybe we'll cover it if we get enough people talking about it.
I have so many.
What'd you say?
I have so many we can do.
Oh, so many. I thought you said House of Money. I'm like, there's a House of Money
show? No, so I just cannot talk enough about House of Dragons right now. Okay.
I watched the Game of Thrones
character arcs, like they're putting me on a roller coaster, these damn writers.
Drama on House of Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Well, hit up our Patreon as well. There's a link right here, and you can check out Big Brother, and then hopefully another show next week. We're gonna have to figure that one out. So we'll talk to y'all very soon. For Jenna, I'm Dan. We'll see you next time here on the Challenge After Show. Was that a good out right there? That was pretty good. That was a good out.
Oh God.